Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for barring my husband from the bedroom tonight? AITA for kicking my BIL's entire family out, which made them homeless after they slowly destroyed my home? AITA for making my sister cry since I quizzed her on her knowledge because she wants to homeschool her kid? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for barring my husband from the bedroom tonight? So here is the situation. Me, nurse. Working 50-ish hours a week in pediatric ICU. Cry at least once a week because that shit is hard. My salary pays our bills. All of them. Husband, 25M. Has a degree but isn't looking for a job. Works 2 days a week at the grocery store. Spends most of his time playing LOL. By the way, all events here are in accordance with COVID legislation. Today was supposed to be a good day. I had been begging my husband to swap his Saturday shift to literally anything else so that we could have days off together. We haven't had a weekend together since our wedding, 18 years ago. Today was supposed to be our first Saturday off together. We were going to go to an animal sanctuary. He starts the day by going to breakfast with his best mate, leaving before I even wake up. I wake up around 9 and realize he is not home. Call. He says he's helping his mate set up some lights and that the weather is too rainy for the animal sanctuary anyway. He gets home at 1-ish. Lies around. Plays some video games, promising we would cook dinner together tonight. Leaves again at 5 to help the same mate with something else. I go grocery shopping. I don't drive because of medical issues, but I walk there and back in the rain. I get home, realize I've left my keys inside. Call husband, knowing he's 5 minutes away. He says he will leave in a minute. I sit in the rain and the cold, southern hemisphere. 45 minutes later, I call again. He hasn't left yet. He finally agrees to come and let me in the house, so he drives up, presses the clicker to let me in the garage and leaves again. At 10, I call to see where he is. His friend answers. Says he is driving out to do something an hour away. It's 10:30. I am going to bed. I have sent him a TXT that I am upset and don't want to speak to him tonight and would rather he left me alone. As far as I am concerned, if he can't value me more than his best mate on the first day off he and I have shared in a year and a half, he can go sleep in his bed instead. By the way, his friend doesn't work, so they hang out all the time when I am at work. He is going to be upset. And he is gonna tell his mate and his mate is going to tell him I'm being a B*TCH. AITA. Adding some info, I am 26. We weren't always like this. I don't know what changed. I'm fairly confident he's not having an affair. And I fully intend on talking this through, but at a time that isn't 4 a.m. Also the crying, sick babies sometimes make me sad, and I love all my patients. That's why I cry. And I don't mean hours of sobbing. I mean stepping into a supply closet to take a moment before getting back to work. Also thank you for your kindness. I was expecting maybe 5 replies. I am trying to respond as much as I can. But there are a lot of you. NTA. I'd ban him for more than one night. What kind of thoughtless behavior? Sounds like there are bigger issues surrounding his job too. Have you spoke to him about finding a full-time job? It's not fair that he's not pulling his weight. If he can't spare 1 day of his 5-day weekend to spend with his wife, who is currently being a frontline hero, he can go live with his friend IMO. NTA. My first reaction is who's he seeing on the side? If he's spending his free time with his mate, is his mate just providing an alibi? When you call and he's not there, how convenient is the mate's response? Or maybe his mate is the side piece. Honestly, this is what I thought. It's just the overall vagueness that makes it weird too. He has to help his friend with something at 5 p.m., but it's not clear with what. He's out driving somewhere at 10 p.m., but it doesn't say what or where. At best, he's being very inconsiderate, and at worst, he's hiding something. That's not a husband, it's an overgrown child. If he can't spend one day with you in 18 months and chooses to spend that day with his friends, then kicking him out of the bedroom isn't going to change his behavior. He needs to start making you, his wife, a priority, or he needs to pack his shit and leave. He doesn't work and isn't looking for work. He spends all day every day hanging with friends or gaming while you work your ass off helping others and paying bills. Couples therapy isn't going to change that, as he probably believes you are overreacting and he has done nothing wrong. Sorry to sound harsh, but you married a dud. He's lazy and inconsiderate. Personally, I'd throw the whole man away and start again. NTA. Reading this, it looks like she's more of a second mommy than his wife. NTA. NTA, I don't want to upset you, but you do have to consider that something more is going on than just your husband spending a lot of time with a pal. There might be some extramarital activity going on, and the friend is acting as a front so your husband can carry on with whomever without you finding out. You know your husband best, but if I were you, I'd be suspicious of his behavior. Why are you still with this man? He does not care about you. In fact, he's more concerned about this friend than he is you. He is working 2 days a week and plays video games the rest of the week? I'd love to hear an explanation for the logic there. Does he do chores? Run errands? Anything to help his partner's day be a bit easier? Does he even enjoy being around you? NTA. Divorce him. Your life will be the same as now, except that you will have more money because you are not paying for home to life, a life of leisure. Or don't. And decide you want to years down the road. And by then you have to pay him alimony due to the length of marriage. You deserve someone who prioritizes you. NTA. You don't need Reddit, you need marriage counseling. Counseling won't save this. He's newly married and treating her like garbage, draining her resources and honesty. There's something fishy going on with his mate. Read, mate is a cover. I'm not one to immediately say divorce, but in this case, AITA for kicking my BIL's entire family out, which made them homeless after they slowly destroyed my home? My husband's brother, 35M, his wife, 26F, and 2 boys, 4 and 3, moved in with me and my husband, both 30, last month because they got evicted. I never wanted them here in the first place due to past issues, but after speaking with my husband, we decided for the sake of the young children to give them a place to stay. Before they moved in, we set some ground rules such as my BIL must be actively job searching and that they must respect our space and clean up after themselves. Unfortunately, in the past month, they have begun to slowly destroy my home and my space without giving two shits. First of all, my Sael is an extremely picky eater, so their family doesn't eat with us. Fine. But they never ever clean up after themselves, constantly leaving dirty dishes and pans, crumbs, food stains. When I tell them to clean after themselves, they begrudgingly do, but it's never a job well done. Last week, one of the boys had peed on my very expensive couch, which I only found out about after smelling piss when I was watching TV. Sael is stay at home, but she's more like stay in her room, doing God knows what while her 2 children run rampant around my house. In the last 3 weeks, her boys have 1, colored on their bedroom walls 2, trashed my living room with their toys 3, knocked over half of my plant collection. Their whole family has turned my house into a zoo while contributing nothing. I've not been able to comfortably live in my own space for the past few weeks. My husband could sense my frustration, so he told me he'd have a talk with them and hire a maid to clean our house. Things got a little better until, yesterday, I get home early from work and their family's gone. Good, I think, peace and quiet for a few hours. I decide to go take a nap in our bedroom only to find that my precious vase that my mother handmade for me was shattered on the ground. I lost my mom when I was a teen and it is one of the last handmade items I have from her. I immediately knew it was the boys because there were toys inside my room and their tablet was on my bed. I was so angry. I ended up calling my husband, explaining the situation, and told him that they would not stay another day in our house, no questions asked. Then I went around the house picking up their dirty clothes, toys, papers, etc., and threw them outside onto our lawn. When they came back, there was a huge confrontation between me and them. I listed all the disrespectful things they'd done and that because they'd met none of the conditions outlined when they first moved in, I wanted them off my property by midnight. I called their kids untrained dogs. They screamed back calling me heartless, cruel, evil, saying I'd make them homeless. Well, they did end up leaving after I threatened to call the cops. Husband is fully on my side, but I can tell he feels a little bad. Mael called me, upset, asking me to take them back in after I forced them to sleep in their car last night. AITA? NTA. You are NTA. If Mael is concerned, she can take them or buy a motel room. They've SHT all over your hospitality and it is no coincidence they were gone when you got home. They knew breaking that vase was gonna be bad news. I am so sorry this happened to you. Definitely not the but your MIL and husband are teetering into assholery. They need to support you in this. Is there an artisan who might repair the vase or create something from the pieces? How is OP's husband teetering in our territory? He supports OP. Just because he feels bad about what happened doesn't make him lean towards He can just feel bad that they weren't being respectful and faithful. MIL can take them in. NTA, being family doesn't entitle anyone to no boundaries and destruction of property. They don't seem capable of managing their lives or making an effort to. I'm glad your husband at least stuck by you. They're definitely incapable of managing their lives, nonetheless raising 2 young children. I've seen enough. Unfortunately though, MIL can't take them in because she lives on the East Coast and we live on the West. NTA. The only assholes here are those family members who sat idly by as a 30-year financially insecure old man impregnated a 22-year woman, not once but twice. I feel bad, but MIL should take them in or something. Oh, trust me, that's a whole other story. They actually started dating when she was only 19, but were on off until he knocked her up. She has her problems for sure, but BIL definitely took advantage of a vulnerable young woman. Thank God my husband turned out to be the complete opposite, despite MIL coddling the older brother constantly since they were young. NTA. I can see why they were evicted from their last place. And 3/5 is old enough to know not to draw on walls and not urinate on furniture. The kids are feral and Bill and Sil are leeches. Your place was their last chance before homelessness and they even screwed that up. 3 and 5 would be old enough if they are actually raised. It sounds more like they raised themselves, and in this case it is not their fault. Inte, I'm so sorry about your vase. Look into kintsugi. Maybe you can still save it. It will never be the same, but it will still be there. NTA. A month is more than long enough to come to your wits' end with someone disregarding your hospitality. You had a moment of clarity while you were home alone and they still managed to ruin it. If they didn't come up with a game plan for this to be a possibility over that month, that's on them. MIL should fund their trip to live with her or put them up in a motel/hotel. You've wasted enough time and resources. AITA for making my sister cry since I quizzed her on her knowledge because she wants to homeschool her kid? I am going to get it out of the way and say I don't like homeschooling. I think it is almost impossible to do correctly on social and educational development. This is coming from someone that went to a shitty public school. So my sister was talking about homeschooling her kid. She said her and her husband will teach her. My sister and her husband are not the brightest people, much more physically labor people than understanding math. I tried to ask if that was a good idea, but she basically said how hard could it be. So I started quizzing her and these were not hard questions. For examples, I asked what a verb was, name the planets, and a simple math problem, literally asked her to do division. She could only name a few planets, and she gave the definition for an adjective, not a verb. Also just completely wrong with the math. It was kinda sad. I told her the right answer and asked if she can't do it, how will she teach the kid to read or any math? She called me a jerk and left to cry. Her husband is on my ass, but my mom thinks it a blessing. AITA? I'm questioning myself. I'm biased against homeschooling. Too often, it's used to indoctrinate children by teaching only what the parent wants to teach, i.e., the Bible, creationism, nationalism, and sharply filtered versions of history. Look at how badly Madison Cawthorn was educated. NTA. Madison Cawthorn is a great example of why homeschooling should be strictly regulated or done away with in the US. He's the most successful, thus far, member of a funding plan called the Joshua Generation, which is seeking to churn out homeschooled evangelical white nationalist young men and get them into political positions and other powerful roles in the United States. Source: Shiny Happy People documentary. NTA. Some people need a reality check once in a while. She is not equipped enough to properly educate her child for the world if she doesn't even know basic elementary school level concepts. Sure, there are online tools, but what happens when the child needs help understanding a concept? Just show them tons of YouTube/con videos and hope that answers their question? They are setting their kid up to fail. If she does the YouTube thing, it would just be easier and probably better to do an online school. NTA. Homeschooling is frankly a detriment unless the parent is actually trained and certified for the job. The only time I see homeschooling working is for the basic, and even then you need to know what the hell you are doing. There is no way the parents will be able to teach higher education like chemistry and physics. Once kids get to middle school, they need specialized teachers. NTA. You simply demonstrated that she's not qualified to teach. Yes, it embarrassed her, but I think that's okay given that you're simply trying to ensure her child gets a good education and is successful in the world. I bet the only planet she knows is Uranus. NTA. I'm not in or from the US, and in my country homeschooling is illegal unless there are medical reasons for it, and the parent doing the teaching has to pass several different tests, and the kids need to pass tests every year with the knowledge of that grade. The US has the worst literacy in the Western world, partially due to homeschooling, and is the country with most registered cults in the Western world for the same reason. I honestly can't wrap my head around how it's legal and so unregulated. I think like 5% of kids are homeschooled here. I don't really agree with it, but that's definitely not the main reason why our literacy rate is low or the cult thing. NTA. I read comments and the YTA basically say that your sister may be a good teacher since there are resources. How hard it could be. So, she is entitled, and she has not even started to study/look at things. Poor girl. I'm a certified teacher who has started a PhD in education. I am medically vulnerable and left the classroom mid-COVID, before vaccine access. I also pulled my children out as well. We have been homeschooling since. However, I actually know how to teach and am licensed from birth, early childhood development, to 12th grade. I also know which subjects I'm less qualified to teach and know to access resources and assessment tools to be sure that I'm imparting those standards appropriately. When there is something I am not comfortable teaching, I know how to find someone to help. For example, my BIL is a pharmacist with a chemistry background. When my kids outgrow my chemistry education, I have someone to help. Even those of us who are actually qualified to homeschool cannot be expected to do it in a vacuum. At least not with appropriate results. NTA. NTA. Hope they take this lesson to heart and send their kid to school. If not, that kid's being set up to fail, and no parent has the right to do that. I'm not saying that parents have to be able to answer each and every one of those questions. But what clinches it for me is that the sister said, "How hard can it be?" because that is just a terrible attitude to have, and a gross underestimation of reality, especially when your own knowledge is lacking so severely. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.